All right, boys and girls, we are going to be working on a narrative in writing. I have given you two passages to read: Paddling to Paradise and Room for Thought. If you have not read those two passages yet, one of them is a story and one of them is a poem. You need to stop the video and go back and read very carefully those two passages, because you can't do the writing assignment correctly if you have not read those two passages. So if you have not followed the instructions and you have decided to be lazy, turn the video off right now, or at least pause it, and then go back and read those two passages. Otherwise, you're going to make a bad grade. Now, for those of us who have read the two passages, this is your topic. I have included that in Google Classroom as well for you to look at anytime you need. It says, imagine that the narrative of the story, should say narrator of the story, and the speaker of the poem have visited the same river and have seen the same eagles. Write a sequel. Now, a sequel is like a part two of the story, or to the story, Paddling to Paradise, in which they meet and discuss their experiences. Give them names. So in the stories, they don't give them names. You got to give them names, any name you want to come up with, and include dialogue. That means that they are speaking to each other. Base their discussion on the details in the story, Paddling to Paradise, and the poem, Room for Thought. That is your topic. This is what you're going to be writing on, and we're writing a narrative. Now let's look at this. I'm going to include this in Google Classroom for you to look at anytime you want. A narrative is simply a story. It will have characters. Our narratives are going to be short, just 3 paragraphs. And this is the outline. First paragraph will be the beginning. It will establish the setting, and it will have a middle, which will be the main events of the story. And then the third paragraph will be the end. It'll be the closing. It's where we tie up all loose ends and we close out the story. Now today we're going to work on paragraph 1, the beginning. The beginning needs to be at least 5 sentences. Now my paragraph I'm going to show you in a minute is more than 5 sentences. It's going to be hard to write a story with just 5 sentences each paragraph. But if they're very good 5 sentences, it can happen. But you might need more than 5, and that's okay. In this paragraph, you make sure you establish the setting. The setting is where the story takes place. Where are you at? And then you also establish the main characters. Now remember, you got to give your characters names. They don't give the names in the passages. So, make sure you have read the 2 passages, because you're making a sequel to Paddling in Paradise. That means what happens next. You got to write a story about what happens next, and the person in the story Paddling to Paradise meets the person who wrote the poem, or who the poem is about, in Room for Thought. Those 2 characters meet, and you got to establish it. Now I'm going to give you an example right here. This is my paragraph. Now you can't copy my names in this story. You can't copy the setting. You can't do any of that. You got to come up with your own ideas. So here's my story, or my first paragraph, the beginning paragraph, the setting paragraph. After leaving the river, because you remember they're at a river in that story, Mom decided to take Jesse and me to a nearby diner. So there's my setting right there. Remember, Jesse is the cousin, and Mom is in the story as well. Okay? My setting is in a nearby diner close to the river. I had to use the restroom really bad, so I ran to it immediately. After an hour, I came out and heard a girl say, "It stinks in here." Now, this girl is the character from the poem. I haven't given her a name yet, but that's who she is. I'm establishing the character. I said, "Sorry, that was me. My name is Frank." So there is the character from Pathing in Paradise. I gave him a name, Frank. "What is yours?" She said, "I'm Kelly." So Kelly in my story will be the person that the poem is about. Then she reached out her hand to shake. I said, "No, COVID. Let's just elbow bump." We bumped elbows, and then I felt like I made a new friend. So there is just my first paragraph, my setting paragraph. I established the setting. I established the characters. I gave them names. And you can also see on their 5th grade where I have dialogue, where they are talking. I put that in there as well. Okay? And it's very important in your story where you have dialogue that you make sure you use quotation marks around the part that the characters are talking. Okay? Before and after the talking part. Now, your assignment today is to do your paragraph 1 like I just did. This is what you're doing. The beginning. Make sure you establish the setting. Establish the main characters. Okay? At least 5 sentences. Now, mine was more than 5 sentences. And I gave you a good example here. So all you got to do is pause it and read it, and it'll give you a good example if you need one. But don't copy my ideas. You come up with your own story. When I read yours, I shouldn't see anything about a diner. Okay? I shouldn't see anything about elbow bumps. And so don't copy my ideas. You come up with your own. And we're just doing paragraph 1 today. Write it on a sheet of paper. And keep that paper for tomorrow. Because tomorrow we'll work on paragraph 2. That is your assignment for today. So, make sure you are doing that 5th grade and do it right. Is this how you wear a mask?